All right. Well, joining us on the Coach's Corner is the women's soccer coach, McCallie WInstead, who is about to enter her fourth season with the Wasp. McCallie, welcome to Coach's Corner.
Thank you.
Well, I want to start off kind of looking bigger picture. The record over the last few years is not where we want it to be, but I know you enough to know that you're a super competitive soul like myself. And I feel like that we're better than our record shows, and I feel like there's a lot of optimism. Is that a fair assessment?
It is. I also feel like my first year and a half here, looking back on it, I don't think everyone makes mistakes, but I think I probably could have pushed a little bit harder, maybe I love my recruits, but maybe could have gotten some more players in. I was just nervous to make the roster too big too soon and kind of ruin the culture part, because that's a really big piece for me. So looking back on it, it's, the grass could be greener. Could I have had a bigger roster and pushed people a little bit more in the beginning? But I really think the players we have now and have stayed are just incredible. And the reason they've stayed is because they want to help this program get better. So, and I did spend my first 2 seasons scheduling a very hard non-conference. So I think on purpose, because we have a hard conference schedule. So I think the record, I kind of ruined that for my team too a little bit, because I just wanted them to be prepared. And now we've kind of leveled out here, hopefully this season, with what we have.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, which is, as a head coach is entering her fourth season, you're at that point now where you're able to look back, I feel like, and say, this is what I did really well at the start. This is where there was a lot of improvement. You've touched on some of those, but as you reflect back, what development have you seen in yourself over these past 3 seasons?
I'm huge on culture, and I think I spent way too much time micromanaging the culture instead of empowering players. This was my first kind of year here, empowering the players to figure that out on their own. But I feel like, from what I've heard, just the last coach and I were very different. So, I kind of wanted to give the players a little bit of time to get to know me versus just throwing a bunch of stuff at them. So I think it was kind of slow on purpose. I didn't think I wanted to come in and I hope the players don't feel this way, but come in and just change everything right off the bat, just because I didn't like it, if it was something that had to do with tradition. So I think we've just kind of, recruited certain players, the players that were freshmen when I got here that are now rising seniors, which is incredible, have, kind of really done a really good job navigating the switch throughout their years. But I think that was probably a big piece that I can look back on. I feel like I still want to do a lot with culture. I still love the team bonding element, the competitive to do it through competition and not just kind of sitting in a circle and talking about your feelings. But I'm more confident in that part of myself, because this obviously was my first head coaching job. So I think I just tried a lot of things that first year instead of just focusing on maybe 2 specific things right off the bat.
Well, culture is important, though. And I was just wondering, what is sort of the culture that you're trying to cultivate with the team?
So we talk a lot about Jansen's cultures. So we want to work towards the championship mindset. We did a survey with the team in November about where they thought the culture was. And he has 8 different cultures, whether it be country club culture, very, toxic culture, all the way up to comfortable, and championship. And we just think, we had a long talk about chicken or the egg. Do you win a lot of games and then have a championship culture? Do you get that culture first and then start winning a lot of games? So my culture is, I think I want to try to make a culture of respect. And I think we talk about that all the time. We've got 28 females on a team. They're not all going to be best friends. And I don't think I should force that on them. But the fact that we're all on the same team, we all want the same thing, and we're all, want to aim towards the same goal. And that's just kind of the culture of accountability that I want to have. If people aren't showing up to lifting, I don't want to be the one telling them to do that. The upperclassmen should be the ones telling them to do that, and that kind of thing. So more of a player run team is kind of something we are getting towards. We're doing a really good, much better than when I got here, but definitely getting towards that.
But that could be a little scary too, because as a coach, you have to give up a little bit of that control to say, I do trust in you and I trust in my leaders to do what's best for this team. So that's got to be a little scary as well.
My leaders, my upperclassmen, my leaders, we have lots of conversations in my office. I do trust them. I know that they're going to do the right thing. It's just about empowering them to tell everybody else to do the right thing and making sure that they understand it's okay if people don't like you all the time, because you're going to have to make tough decisions just like I am. So we kind of have to, I want to empower these girls too beyond college, that when you lead and when you're a part of a team, you're not going to like everyone maybe all the time, but then you're also going to have to boss people around, and it doesn't feel good sometimes and it feels good other times. So you just have to kind of find the balance of what you think is right and what you know is right for this team, and then put that into action.
So I want to look forward to 2020 a little bit. Coming off last year, we only lost the one senior, Grayson Bars, who was one of our big attackers, a big goal scorer for us. But when I look at the stats, I see the next three goal leaders for our team were a couple of first-year students and a sophomore. So how do you kind of look to these younger players and say, now's the time we need for you to be aggressive and sort of make that leap that we always hope our team makes when they're in that first couple of years to when they start becoming the upperclassmen?
That's something I'm still working on, because we have such a huge, I guess they're rising sophomores now. We've got 12 of them. They know they're here to make an impact. That was part of the recruiting speech for them, and that's part of what I expected of them. I mean, at least 5 of them were starting in almost every game this fall. I think we had a game where 7 of them started in a game. So they are very impactful players. They're young and they're inexperienced. So I'm hoping, I've told them, last season was your season to figure it out, and now it's time to get stuff done. A lot of them were frustrated because they were still with the chemistry. There was just, half the team was new. So it's just learning new players. And we talked about that in their end of the year meetings, was just figuring out what they want to do. So we want to make sure we use, if the NCAA rules work out and we have a little bit of a longer preseason this year, we're going to use that to really develop the chemistry with them. But also the jump from freshman to sophomore year is so huge. After that, you kind of jump a little bit every year, but that just jump from freshman to sophomores is huge. And then, my seniors, or rising seniors, the 3 of them, Caroline and Iz and Kelsey play in every game. And they understand what needs to be done. I think they're just ready to get it done. And that's just the mentality of a senior. And my junior class they've always been fit. They've always been ready to go, and they've always been really soccer minded. So I'm just looking forward to what they can do now that they're all not new anymore and they kind of know each other, and it's hopefully going to be a better balance.
As you recruit, McCallie, do you try to recruit like one type of team? Are you trying to build a fast team? Are you trying to build a tough team? Or is there sort of a mix? What are you trying to build as you're kind of going through the recruiting process?
Depends on who we're losing. Depends on the position. My forwards need to be goal scorers. So it's cool if you have all the technical ability in the world, but if you can't score goals, I'm not really sure what we can do with you up top. But, midfielders, I want confident players, athletic players who aren't scared to head the ball. I hesitate to look for a specific type of player because I don't want to put myself in too big of a box if those players, with recruiting say no a lot or whatever, and I have to resort to something maybe different. So I look for athleticism. I look for confidence. But then I look for the type of style that we play. We're a pretty direct team. We're working on being direct with a purpose instead of just kind of a kick and run kind of team. And then defenders, we want speed, we want size. Goalkeepers, we want communication, and obviously athleticism in our keepers, which we do have. So I wouldn't say I am too specific, but I definitely look for confidence. I definitely look for players who are vocal, and then what they do when they're not around the ball, how they treat their teammates when they come off the field. If a coach subs them, do they get pissed? Do they, hang their head? Do they run off, give everybody high fives? Character a little bit is huge for me. And then making sure they're not fouling the entire game is nice too. So, but that's about the big recruiting philosophy that we have.
Well, one of the things that I will always remember about last year's season, McCallie, was the veteran celebration that we did for with women's soccer. Can you talk to me about how that came about and what it meant to the team?
Yeah. So I've been searching for this since I got here. I wanted our team to kind of stand for something in the fall. I know we get tons of emails about standing up for different types of cancer, which, don't get me wrong, that's awesome to do that. But, basketball, women's basketball does a great thing with Ellie, and they do a lot with cancer and childhood cancer. And, softball has autism, and a couple other volleyball does the great breast cancer game. So I just wanted to kind of do something different. And I have an incoming freshman whose dad's in the military. We had a rising senior whose dad's also in the military. And we've had a lot of just family members that are retired military or still in. And my grandfather was in World War II, and he was a prisoner of war. So we have a lot of respect for veterans and on the team. And we just kind of came together and said, super cool to honor them one night. And then my assistant, Kayla, her boyfriend is in the National Guard. So he helped us out a lot, getting all that organized. But it just felt like something, especially I feel like in today's environment where the military can be seen as super negative, veterans are still really important, and they served and made the ultimate sacrifice of saying my life doesn't matter as much as this country, so I'm going to go serve, and defend our country. And that's just a huge thing for me. So yeah, it was real special. It was really cool.
It was an impressive display, and I really thank you all for doing that. I also want to thank you. I think sometimes people forget that coaches come to the King Center with lots of skills, and McCallie has a great mind for marketing and communications and does really well with that. So I want to say thank you to you publicly for your help with the YD3 social media campaign that we did this past spring. And I want to ask you about your own social media campaign that you have right now going on, the A to Z series. Can you tell us a little bit about that and maybe something interesting that you've kind of taken away from it?
Yeah, so I follow tons of teams on social media to get ideas. I think that having a presence in this generation too, these kids want to see themselves on social media. They want to see their team represented on social media. It was obviously my major, so I'm obsessed with it too. But I saw a team doing a series with their team about what makes it important, and they did it over the course of a few months, and I thought it was so cool. So I kind of stole it and tweaked it a little bit to fit us. But I thought it would be awesome during a coronavirus kind of break to, when there's not a lot of things. We did, a pet series. We did a spotlight series on our team. I always love to spotlight current players. Just every year we want to be able to do that. But I thought, okay, well, what makes this program special? Because I think I spend, hours telling recruits what makes this program special. But, I want parents to understand it. I want alumni to understand what the current program looks like and see if the traditions are still the same. So yeah, I spent a long time, probably a few days, and I talked to a couple upperclassmen about what each letter means, because there was a couple I just had a really hard time coming up with, like, maybe X and a couple other things. We just posted actually like 20 minutes ago, and that was international travel. So I've had a few players go to Italy, Greece, and Spain. So want to post that, the study abroad can be a really amazing thing here at Emory and Henry. But yeah, I want to showcase the program, but I also want to showcase the school. I liked on our I posted pictures of the campus for Emory and Henry. For F, we did Fred Self Stadium, and I know football and other sports use that. For D, we did Duck Pond, because that's just a cool part of campus. So we're trying to showcase the team, but also really cool parts of campus too. So just a fun way to keep things going over the next few months.
Yeah, us social media managers, we're always looking for content, and sometimes it really bursts these really brilliant things that become bigger things. I mean, to be honest with you, when we started Coaches Conversation, it sort of started out with I needed to try to fill some space and time. Then you start seeing that these can be really interesting, fun conversations that people really enjoy. So yeah, that's what we do in the summertime. I also want to talk to you though about another element of the job that people sometimes don't think about, and that's fundraising. The women's soccer team recently completed a really awesome project with our locker room. Can you tell us a little bit about that campaign and the impact on the team that it's had to have this nice, beautiful space for the team to call home?
Right. Well, I know Kyla, the volleyball coach, and I got together, and I wanted to redo my locker room. She wanted to redo hers. We just felt like of all the locker room space in the King Center, I think everybody could use a renovation, but we still had curtains over the doors for the equipment room. Our locker room used to be the football equipment room. So I just said, you know what? Our team's getting better. I want them to feel a little bit more professional. I love gear, so I give them nice gear. So I thought, okay, well, what's the next step? And we have to put our study abroad or our abroad trip on pause just with coronavirus and with some other things that have happened. So I thought, well, what can we fundraise for that will really change these girls' experience here at Emory and Henry? And I figured, well, the locker room. So we try to make sure that parents and alumni kind of get the first say in it. I really think that when you involve the alums and you involve the parents, yeah, I know at the college level, they can feel like they're not involved at all. And sometimes I know money is the only way they can be involved besides cheering for their daughters. But, we have a big donor wall in there. Anyone who donated more than $100 got a plaque on the wall. I think we have probably 30 something plaques up there right now. And then if you donated over a specific amount as well, you got a plaque on a locker. So I thought that was really cool for people to just kind of be, I guess, immortalized, right, in the locker room. But I wanted the donor wall up there so the girls would walk in every single day and not forget why they have that. And, that I'm not, the program, the school, they're not just paying for this because, they can. So it's important that they see those names every day. And I think fundraising is huge. I think, I give to my college. I think it's important for people to, give back to the school that gives them so much. They may not see it right away, but that gives them so much. So we did that campaign. We sent a letter to parents. We did a raffle, which raised us about $1,000. And I really love the people that, offered up stuff. We did Panthers tickets. We did a hotel in downtown Charlotte. Luckily, the winner of the raffle lived in Charlotte, so it worked out perfectly. And then we did a bunch of stuff to Bonefire, Bojangles, things like that. So it was about a couple $100, worth of a raffle. So it was cool to get that done.
Well, McCallie, I want to get you out on this question. It's been a crazy time. The pandemic has been hard. I know you've been finding really interesting ways to engage with your team. Where are you at right now in sort of that ready to get back out there sort of world of, we still have a little bit of the summer left before we return to campus. So where are you at right now?
I'm itching to get back. We actually have small group meetings every 2 weeks, obviously voluntary for the summer, but I just had a player yesterday tell me how much she really enjoys those Zoom meetings. Especially I feel like this summer, the girls need to stay in touch with each other. It's obviously the meetings are not about soccer. They can't be. Our first meeting was just icebreaker questions, just dumb questions. Like if you could be a vegetable, what would you be? Stuff like that. And
what was your answer, by the way?
A potato, because you can be anything. A lot of people, someone else said, if you could be a food, someone else said cucumber because they love cucumbers and other things. But it was fun to hear that. Last week we did, I had 2 players just take over the meeting and run with it. Sometimes we'll do COVID updates. Like if we hear, hey, Virginia has to be in phase 3 for us to play kind of thing, I'll let them know that stuff. And, but for the most part, we had a group do pet and tell. So they did a screen share and everyone had to tell about their pets. So it's just been kind of fun to just get them together every few weeks, make sure I continue to talk to the freshmen and get everything situated there. But I am itching. And the fact that we could potentially start preseason earlier is just amazing. I say potentially because we don't know, but, I'm still not quite ready to plan preseason. I don't want to jinx anything. So we're waiting a little bit. I wish we could do camps this summer. I'm real sad we couldn't. I love camp season, man. I love those kids. We're going to try to maybe do it if we can, a little day camp, weekend camp to get those kids back on campus and on, doing water gun fights if they want, and, the young ones. So, but I'm bored and I'm ready to get back. So.
Well, you're really one of the creative coaches out there that I really like seeing what you come up with, McCallie. But thank you so much for joining us on Coach's Corner.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.